Well, this is it then, the conclusion of this afternoon's Arrows action. Live sport brought to you courtesy of the PDC from Barnsley Metrodome. The Players' Championship Series continues, and the final of the 7th floor event of the year will be contested between Nathan Aspinall, one of the premier players in world darts right now, and one of the most proficient players on the floor, Brendan Dolan, who picked up a couple of these titles last year, the history maker, and has just done a job on James Wade in the semi-finals around 10 minutes ago. Can he repeat the trick against an equally dominant semi-final winner, Nathan Aspinall? I'm Chris Murphy, and Dan Dawson joins me to talk you through it.
Yeah, I've been self-isolating over on streaming board 2 for the majority of the afternoon, where I've seen some of Nathan Aspinall's displays, including his 7-3 victory over Danny Noppert, which is probably the best we've seen from him today. But as ever with the Asp, there's quality so regularly.
25.
He has become, in my mind, one of the top 5 players in the world. I think everybody probably agrees that it's Wright, Price and Van Gerwen right at the very top. That trio is fighting out for the title of the best player in the world right now. But I think Nathan Aspinall is probably leading the chasing pack. You only have to look at his displays in the Premier League and these events. Back-to-back semi-finals at the World Championship. He's up to number 7 in the world rankings.
180.
But Brendan Dolan is a man you can never discount. In fact, I think even Brendan Dolan was discounting himself a couple of years ago. But things changed. And it all dates back, for me, for both of these guys actually, to the World Championship. Not the most recent one, the one before, where they actually met in the quarterfinals. That set Nathan off on this trajectory to become the player he is right now. And it rejuvenated Brendan, because he was literally about to walk away from the game at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah, reminded him of the player that he was. And
100.
A few months later in Germany, he won a Pro Tour for the first time in the best part of 5 years. Had actually been on the phone to his wife the night before, hadn't he, having lost in the first round for
100.
one time too many, and said he was ready to quit. She told him, "You're not allowed." And then he won the title the next day.
Yeah, called it his 5-year chill out, but he is back and he's winning titles. Proved that day was not a flash in the pan by picking up another one, and look where he is today in the final. Look at it, treble 20 and double top to steal this opening leg against the throw.
105.
Not quite, and the finishing was the standout thing from his semi-final with James Wade, wasn't it?
It was. Aspinall survives a slight scare, but yes, Brendan Dolan in that 7-1 demolition of the machine took out finishers of 106, 146 in the last leg, and
140.
in between those 3-figure outs was 170 check out, with Wade waiting on top to go 6-0 up.
Taste of his own medicine for the machine.
42.
It's not always about the astronomical averages. James Wade knows that just about as well as anyone, but Brendan Dolan really did take him to finishing school, and his timing was sublime as well. Aspinall
50.
has won the lion's share of meetings between the pair of them. In terms of ranking meetings, it's 3-1 in the Asp's favour. 3 of them in these floor events, and the other one, of course, the one that you've already referred to at the Ali Pali.
Shaking his head, Nathan. This is not... It's got to be one of his worst legs of the day, I would imagine, in terms of scoring. There were times against Danny Noppert where he just could not go to the board without coming back without 1 or 2 big trebles, sometimes all 3. Although he's not hit many 180s today. Neither of these guys have. They've only got 16 between them over the whole day.
Yeah, not racked up the amount that we usually see in finalists in these events. The thing about these Pro Tour events played effectively behind closed doors is that they do tend to bring out the best in players. No distractions.
$18.
That's probably the one thing he didn't want to happen. Nathan Aspinall's only halfway down from 500. The last thing Brendan Dolan wants to be doing is mucking about on double three. He may even look at 2-2-2 here.
Well, he will feel like he has to hit it. With Aspinall on a manageable outshot, and he does hit it dead centre to level up after 2 legs.
$140.
Well, Brendan, last year, those 2 titles, they came from his only 2 appearances in finals. And in fact, those finals were the first appearances in finals that he'd had for 4 years. So it wasn't as if he was... There was an increase in his level of performance. You could see that he was playing a bit better. But it wasn't as if he was constantly knocking on the door and you think, oh, Brendan's about to go and win a title. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. That's why he was on the phone to his other half thinking he might walk away from the game. It's not that it came out of a clear blue sky, but it wasn't as if it felt like it was constantly progressing towards that stage. But to win 2, be in a final in the early stages of this year, I think Brendan Dolan, he might be looking at another patch like he did in 2013 to 14 when he won 5 of these titles, and that came after 8 final appearances where he just couldn't learn to get over the line. He was always there and thereabouts, Brendan, for a good 3-4 years, winning titles in finals. Are we going to go through a spell of that?
Well, having seen Aspinall miss the second attempt at treble 19,
96.
Dolan has an early opportunity to break here. Only needs to find 1 treble to avail himself a dart at the bullseye. It would be treble 18, off the mark.
44.
Well, going 36-32, but in the end he leaves double top, and he's a long way short of that double top.
Really took a nosedive, that one. Maybe held onto the dart a little too long. Dolan eyeing up treble 20. Just has to keep out of the way of that one. Now he might have to shuffle across. He hasn't, but he has found a way. Brendan Dolan through the barricades and into the bed.
Dolan hits the front, averaging 103. Race to 8 in these finals, remember. We've had 6 of these events this year and 6 different winners. One of them, of course, is Nathan Aspinall. So he could be the first person to win a couple of these this year in 2020.
I think Aspinall will feel like it would be a notable victory, having seen off Michael van Gerwen en route.
Well, that's the irony, isn't it? That's probably his worst performance of the day, and yet he's beaten the world #1 by 6 legs to 1 within, what, hours of people going mad on social media saying MVG's back to his best and he's unstoppable and he's going to win everything.
Well, he is 4 apiece in the head-to-head stats against MVG right now. Nathan Aspinall up there with, in recent performances, Gerwyn Price in terms of taking him close all the time.
Well, and that's the thing. Nathan Aspinall is not one of those players who's got a decent record against MVG. I made the points earlier over on the other streaming board, because they played him when he was just a pup and he wasn't the dominant force in the game. He's only ever played him when he's been the big noise in PDC darts, and he still holds his own.
Brendan Dolan's 8th 180 of the afternoon has helped him get down to 84 after 9. Make that 24 after 10.
72.
Can't find it, but because of that power scoring in the early part of the leg, Aspinall is languishing back above 200.
Well, this is the thing. Nathan Aspinall has become a very, very popular player. 2 reasons for that. One of them, he's an excellent player, and 2, he's good to watch. He's aggressive. He's quick. People like watching him in action. They think something's going to happen. Brendan Dolan lining up double 6 again, and now lining up double 3 again. And this time he's got a problem.
And that was the worst that could have happened from there.
Yes.
160 on offer. Not going to take it out, but there is no guarantee that Brendan Dolan will manage this minuscule 3 checkouts.
28.
Well, he managed to hit a big 20 and smash one into double top. It's a similar shot here. There's the big 1. And there's the double 1. So,
and if you're going to pick a spot for that to go in, you wouldn't have picked that one either, would you?
Well, if you're Brendan Dolan, it doesn't matter. You just smash it through the previous dart, as he's done that a couple of times. But this is the thing, Brendan Dolan,
41.
in the opening stages of this, he has scored so heavily. He's missed darts at double 6 and double 3 and double 12. His doubling has not been brilliant, and yet he's still averaging 99 because his scoring is very, very good in the opening stages here. But it's deceptive
46.
because if this was Gary Anderson or Michael Van Gerwen or Nathan Aspinall scoring like this, you'd immediately be going, "Whoa, hang on, this is good." But Brendan, because it's so slow and methodical, it doesn't quite look the same. But I can assure you, it is just as devastating.
It is, at the end of the day, like any sport, a results business, and the method and the means of getting that result is not the important part.
Absolutely. Brendan Dolan,
90.
he's like a tidal wave. Like, it doesn't look that threatening in the distance, and then all of a sudden it's upon you and it's obliterating everything in its path.
The slow motion tsunami that is the history maker, Brendan Dolan, and he is making rather serene progress so far in this match.
100.
The other thing it does do is unintentionally disrupts the rhythm of those quicker throwing players, Aspinall being one of them.
Absolutely.
100.
Well, the 130, he should be looking at a dart at the bullseye at the end of this, minimum. It'll be double 5 in the end. That's always the danger with that shot, isn't it? It's 2 perfect darts. It gives you a dart at the outer ring, preferable to a dart at the bullseye. But if you miss inside, then you might end up, like Brendan Dolan, mucking about on double 2 and double 1.
You speak to the likes of Rod Harrington and Paul Nicholson
98.
and other ace pundits are available, former pros, and they say often you're expecting to go for the bullseye at the end of that shot.
Game shot.
Aspinall tidies up and reduces the deficit to a single leg.
Well, the only time that Brendan has beaten
60.
Nathan, it was their first meeting. It was back in the summer of 2018. Nathan had just got back on the tour. He hadn't really found his feet. He hadn't won a ranking title by
58.
that point. It all happened for him later on that year. He won one of these and then has just carried on that rise up the world rankings to becoming a major title winner, Premier League player, and one of the hottest properties in the sport.
180.
But Brendan Dolan, if he beats Nathan here, it may not be his first win against the Asp, but it's the first win against the Asp as one of the leading lights in this sport. He was just another very good player with some potential back then. But it's all happened very, very quickly.
Dolan has had some notable successes himself this afternoon. Not least the stonking scoreline against James Wade, but he beat Dave Chisnell in the last 16 and Dirk Telnickers in the quarter-finals, a Dutchman who had beaten Gary Anderson and Peter Wright back-to-back before that.
And was 5-2 up on Brendan in that game. Now, same equation for Brendan, but he doesn't need to stay on the 20s. He was looking at treble 18, afforded that luxury with the Asp not on a finish.
94.
Yeah, Dolan in that quarter-final, taking out 120 in a last leg decider with his opponent sat on double 8s, powerless to stop him.
180.
Oh, that's his first 180 of this final, Nathan. That puts him in double figures for the day. It's a reminder to Brendan that this leg ain't over, but Brendan's quite quick to point out that it is. 4-2, and the Northern Irishman is halfway to victory.
140.
Not quite the back-to-back maximums, but Aspinall just making the advantage of throw count immediately.
96. 96.
Yes. Other than his standout victory against Michael van Gerwen, although you were quite right to point out, Dan, that it was his worst performance of the afternoon.
59.
Also beat the likes of Chris Dobey, Vincent van der Voort and Danny Noppert, averaging well over 100 in all of those matches.
133.
Yeah, not been particularly friendly to the Dutch today, has he, Aspinall? Taking out Gert Nenches, Vincent van der Voort, Michael van Gerwen and Danny Noppert.
Yeah, 4 out of 6 Dutch opponents sent packing by the Asp.
At the moment, it's the Northern Irishman who's standing up to it.
92.
St Patrick's Day weekend, of course, isn't it? That's, I mean, not that any of the parades are going ahead, but at least Brendan's giving him some cause to celebrate by reaching the final here and maybe picking up an 8th ranking title in PDC darts.
140.
And I'm sure there's plenty of celebration at home that the darts is on for people to watch.
Game
Cup
shot.
of tea, packet of biscuits.
You know how to live, don't you?
Do that without the darts myself, but you lot are enjoying it. And Nathan Aspinall is enjoying it a little bit more than he might have been early in the match, just trying to find a way to
96.
turn around this scoreline, just clinging on to Brendan's coattails.
60.
Right, but it would be a very different title win from Nathan's one earlier on this year, where the quarter-final,
96.
semi-final and final, it wasn't just some of the best darts we've seen from Nathan or some of the best darts we've seen this year, some of the best darts we've seen full stop in these Pro Tour events.
180.
He was unstoppable. Gerwyn Price, the world number 3, the world champion Peter Wright couldn't stop him as a 9-darter in that game. He would have beaten anybody that day, I think.
Was that around 119, the average? Something in that region?
118 against Peter Wright. He blasted Gerwyn Price off the board in the final. He was just clinical. This would be different. He's not hit top
125.
gear, but it's almost, I always think it's almost more impressive if players can go all the way and win titles on their B game. Then that shows that they've reached a level that some will never reach.
Well, look, there are plenty of players that are not winning titles on their A game this year.
Certainly.
100.
For the second time this year, Ian White has averaged more than 105 for the day and not walked away with the title as the Asp looks at double 8 to level this game up. That is magnificent. 12-darter from Nathan Aspinall. A little glimpse of the quality this lad has.
Yeah, that is the shot that he needed. Dolan opened up that 2-leg cushion. Aspinall kept getting back within 1, but needed something special to break. And now he is in pole position
97.
in this final. He's a player who is never beaten, Nathan Aspinall. Just look back at the Premier League match against Gary Anderson on
60.
Thursday when it ended in a draw. There's every chance that he might not have salvaged that, but he did. He just keeps fighting and keeps producing the big scores at the back end of matches or at the important times in matches. And those knockout blows, he knows how to hit hard and when to hit hard.
Well, he is one of those players who has that explosive nature about him.
59.
In the same way that Van Gerwen or Gary Anderson or an Adrian Lewis kind of player, where there will be a spell where they just cannot stop hitting trebles, and we might be in one right now.
180.
And it can be overwhelming for an opponent because all they keep doing is hearing 180, 140 every single time that their opponent's at the board. And legs just disappear very, very quickly.
100.
Yeah, it's 6 trebles out of 9 in this leg. 9 attempts in this leg from Aspinall, who now wants tops for an 11-darter. He thought it was in. In contrast, 1 treble out of 9 for Brendan Dolan.
Game
and
shot.
that's why the Asp now leads.
Back-to-back 12 darters for Nathan Aspinall. Now, that game you mentioned against Gary Anderson, it finished 6-all. Nathan coming back from 5-1 down.
60.
His winning legs, on average, were 12 darters. That's 125 average. And put that in context,
58.
the world record broadcast average is around that mark. Peter Wright, of course, the man who's produced that. The world record for a game on telly, just a shade under that, Michael Van Gerwen, 123.
60.
And Nathan's other legs weren't that bad either. But it just goes to show, when he hits top gear, it is devastating.
140.
Well, he has now taken his average in this match into 3 figures. Aspinall Dolan just a shade below the 100 mark in the high 90s.
Yeah, and if it stays around there, he'll be averaging about 100 for the entire day. That's world-class stuff.
It really is, and that's a point that and I'm sure you have been making all afternoon. I know that we have got
99.
plenty of viewers who might not have watched Pro Tour darts before in the absence of many of the other scheduled live sporting events this weekend, and I've said it before, it does bring the best out in them because it is just the most perfect setting for them to play
59.
something as close to their practice game as they can.
Well, and also, you'll realise the strength in depth. You may only dip into the darts, say the World Championship or the Premier League or whatever. You might not have seen a great
121.
deal of Danny Noppert, or you might not have seen Kim Ibrex if you're a recent darts convert.
I mean, even we'd never seen Dirk Telneckers and he'd been Gary Anderson and Peter Wright.
100.
82 or 83. 83, the first finish on offer. But a big number miss. 16 would have given him a dart at the bullseye.
44.
And you could see what he thought of it.
Wasn't that keen on the one that followed it either. He is furious, Nathan Aspinall, because he knows Brendan Dolan could quite easily see this off. Double top will be the target. No miss big number from the Northern Irishman,
62.
but he does miss the double. Is this going to be a 4th leg on the spin? Double 16. Next door for double 8.
31.
Double 10. To win leg 10. Oh, is that tricky or can he use it? Hasn't moved. He's considering moving, I'm pretty sure of it. He is stepping across. He's not sure which way to go here, Brendan Dolan.
I know he's not the most energetic, but he's only a foot, Brendan. Go on. But can he find the target? Oh, my word. Well, a couple of times in this match he's thrown darts through other ones, but it didn't work on this occasion.
He gave it a chance, but deflected into the wrong bed. And now Aspinall eyes up the opportunity to lead by 2 legs for the first time. Is that difficult for him?
Game shot.
No, he has used it, and he does open up the gap.
By far the lowest quality leg of the match, but it does not matter as far as Nathan Aspinall's concerned, because it's a 4th leg on the spin, and Brendan Dolan
135.
might be seeing the title drift out of his reach. You can't rule him out. Look what he did to Dirk Telneckers. 5-2 down, 1-4 in the spin, but we're rapidly approaching a similar
100.
situation, and to do that against one man who'd never reached a ranking quarter-final in PDC darts before, and to do it against a man who is regularly threatening at the back end of
140.
major tournaments and winning them, different things.
Brendan Dolan was just palming Aspinall off in the first half of the match, but it was those 2 dozen dart legs, the 136 checkout,
100.
followed by the 90, that really turned the tie around, and then Aspinall punishing Dolan for missed darts at double.
99.
And looks set to kick on from here and close out the win.
$59.
Like he's knocked the stuffing out of Dolan, isn't it?
Yeah. I think You know what? I think it's more that Brendan's knocked the stuffing out of himself.
95.
He had those darts, and it really was at a pivotal moment. 5-all, that would have made it, and game very much on. But right now, Brendan Dolan, I think he's, well, he can't even keep hold of his darts. He is relying on one of the hottest
85.
properties in the sport missing, and he's not been doing a great deal of that.
Game shot.
Well, if he had a towel, he might well throw it in at this point, because Nathan Aspinall has just reeled off another leg. That is 5 on the spin for the Asp.
59.
Last year, Nathan Aspinall made the final of 3 of these events. He lost in all of them. Lost to Daryl Gurney, Christoph Ratajski,
97.
Willie O'Connor. This year, he's already beaten Gerwyn Price. He might be about to beat Brendan Dolan.
$100.
Well, some frustration there from Aspinall. Not sure whether that was simply at himself or whether he
24.
heard a little noise or something, a glance to the heavens, but just spilled over a little bit there.
He is a guy who plays with a bit of fire.
100.
And it's that fire that sometimes inspires him to do things that other players simply don't. It is a 4th 180. He only hit 9 in 6 games coming into today's final. He's hit another 4. And he's potentially 4 darts away from a 5th ranking title, or 5th title in PDC darts, I should say. Oh, he might do it in 4. He might do it in 4. Brendan Dolan to stay alive.
We'll look at the bull. Finds the bull. We'll look at double 16, but he can't
86.
find that. He led this match 4-2, was keeping Aspinall at arm's length for much of it, but the Asp has come roaring back into this final. Now he's looking to bend it like Beckham. Dolan had the same predicament earlier on, but Aspinall has found a way to win from 4-2 behind, 6 consecutive legs, and Nathan Aspinall picks up the title here at Players' Championship 7 and the £10,000 winner's cheque that goes with it. A 5th title in the PDC for one of the, well, present and future stars, seeing off the history maker Brendan Dolan in the final. It has been a fabulous day of darts. He has beat Michael van Gerwen along the way, Dolan in the decider, and we're going to hear him answer a few questions here with Dan Dawson.